Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I am Kenneth Shark Kinney, your host and Chief Shark Officer. Let me tell you about two amazing sponsors who make this show possible. Let's talk first about Inbound. From marketing to sales and commerce to CX, Invoca's active conversation intelligence platform enables revenue teams to create better buying experiences, drive more leads, and increase revenue. Trusted by top brands like Dish Network, Mayo Clinic, Mutual Omaha, and ADT, the Invoca team is doing some amazing work in turning conversational data into automated action to enhance digital touchpoints and human interaction. Now, let's talk about Outbound. I hope that you'll take a look at Drips, the founders of conversational texting, where they use conversational AI to help you reach customers where they're most responsive, and that's on their phones. And working with major brands like 3 Day Blinds, Liberty Mutual, Credit Repair, and Gainsco, Drips is leading the way for some of the biggest brands in the world to improve engagement rates and outcomes for their prospects and customers. And now, back to the show. Is technical SEO dead? I mean, after all, we got so used to talking about title tags, keywords, and schema markups that we forgot about what the purpose of the user, the reader, your customer is. Seems like they would be just as important as making Google happy. But is there a way to really build authority, and not just through technical SEO efforts with developers, but through a purpose-driven approach that can be built for any brand's website? Dale Bertrand is the founder and president of Fire&Spark and an SEO specialist to Fortune 500 companies and venture-backed startups around the world. And on this episode, we'll discuss the idea of the end of technical SEO, the content and signals that resonate with your audience, a purpose-driven approach, influencers and authority link building, story-driven approaches, yelling fire and spark in a crowded theater, coffee for fire departments, citable content, making Google happy, the future of SEO, code versus no-code sites, the next Seth Godin Squarespace website, Boston's Matt and Ben, and a lot more. So let's tune into a fun conversation with a fiery Dale and a shark who is en fuego, and that's why they call me Señor Tiburon, on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Dale, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. Would you please tell us a little bit about your background, your career story to date?
Yeah, so thank you for having me, Kenneth. But I'm going back, hopefully not too far. I
to childbirth. Start there.
I have a technical background, so I studied engineering in school, and AI in grad school. So immediately after college, I was a software guy. So I did software in a number of different tech startups. But then after that, around like 2008, I got into digital marketing. So I started out doing freelancing in digital marketing. And back then I was doing advertising, SEO, content, pretty much whatever somebody would hire me for. But quickly got into SEO and really landed on just specializing in SEO. I mean, I did have some background when I was in grad school because we were building a search engine in grad school. But of course, it made more sense for me to optimize for Google rather than compete with Google. But that's how I ended up where I am now. I mean, now I run Fire&Spark. We're an SEO agency, so we focus on SEO. That's what we do, nothing else. Love working with brands and challenger brands and new companies, all that.
So I know a lot of what you talk about is sort of the end of what you refer to as technical SEO. Talk about why you believe that and how you're seeing what you call purpose-driven link building to accelerate SEO growth. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so the end of technical SEO. So it's heresy, right? Because I'm a technical guy, and I got into SEO because I love web technologies, and I was really excited about how do search engines work and what could you do to manipulate those results and rankings so that you can get valuable traffic. One of the first projects that I worked on was a website that I owned. And back then, and this is around 2008, 2009, 2010-ish kind of time frame. Back then, the reason why SEO was fun for me is because it was all about optimizing the website. So making sure that you've got the right tags, sitemap, Google can crawl, index everything, and you've got the keywords in the right places and all that sort of thing. And SEO has just evolved dramatically since then. So back then, you could make those types of technical optimizations, on-page optimizations, and see a significant increase in traffic. For me, on that first significant, first large project that I worked on, we were able to do those types of things in order to get to rank number one for the keyword nursing degree, which was like the money keyword that paid all my bills the year after my son was born, because I didn't work that year. But that back then we were really focused on technical optimizations. If you fast forward to nowadays, like Google, it's no longer a rules-based search engine. It's not, solely based on the PageRank algorithm that we all remember when Google started. So nowadays it's AI driven, and the AI is really trying to emulate human decision making at a large, humongous scale, billions of pages. So imagine Google's built an AI that's like a librarian that knows every page and everything about every page and every topic that there is. And if you type in a keyword, that librarian can recommend exactly the right page for what you're looking for. And that librarian, just an example I'm giving here, knows exactly what your intention is behind what you're looking for, what you need. So the AI is, Google's AI is able to figure out what people are actually searching for and what is the right page. And it's divorced from the rules that Google was using originally. Now it's really based on training the AI, using a panel of humans to understand what the AI is doing. So what all that means is that when you're doing SEO, the optimization, you're not, or I don't believe you should be focused on the technical aspects like we used to be, but instead like really looking at what does it take to build an audience around your brand or the products that you're selling or the content that you're publishing. And you want to be able to show Google that you're gaining momentum with your brand or your content. And then Google's able to see people engaging with that content and linking to that content and staying on your site. And now all of a sudden your website looks like a site that is building momentum with the internet audience, and Google will give it rankings and traffic because of that.
I love the mention of it being heresy to people that are technical SEO. It's the equivalent of yelling fire and spark in a crowded theater. How about that?
Oh, that's a good pun.
You can use that one.
Just my favorite of the day. My favorite of the
hour. Might narrow it down to a half hour. All right. So this approach, I'm sure when you go in and explain this to people, they're probably concerned with what do I sacrifice to get there, but how do you start moving in that direction? Also, so they're not giving up anything with their current SEO efforts, because like everything else, a lot of this gets baked into our mindset and we set it and forget it and do the same things over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to rank well in a competitive market in Google, you have to have content that resonates with somebody. And one example, like we work with a 3D printing company. They sell high-end, expensive 3D printers to professional engineers. It turns out that we were able to get links to their website from hobbyists, people who are building their own 3D printers or writing their own code for 3D printers, because those are the people that are active online in terms of linking to content, sharing content, and engaging with content online. So what I tell people is like, there needs to be an audience that your content engages with, even though it might not be that you're resonating with exactly the people who you want to type in queries, land on your website and buy something, but it needs to resonate with somebody or some audience out there. And when you're doing that, like, you also want to make sure that you have the right keywords and you're targeting the right keywords, but you're not focused solely like we used to do back in the day on optimizing page layouts, site maps, your robots.txt file, things like that. Like we're really doing our research around, what is the audience that we want to resonate with, and what is the content that we're creating that's going to resonate with this audience. And then as a side effect of that, what are the signals, the technical signals that Google's going to see, so that Google recognizes that our brand, our website is resonating with an audience. And then we can build out keyword focused content from there to get that to rank.
So you're not talking about getting rid of any technical SEO optimizations. It's just moving the focus to more of a purpose driven. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So with the purpose driven approach, it's really like once you recognize that, in order to do well in a competitive market with SEO, you need to generate like a brand or content that resonates with somebody. Then we start asking the question, okay, what are the easiest ways to resonate? Like you might have a product that's just blowing up, or you might be noteworthy for some other reason. But most of the time when a brand comes to us, they're really trying to figure out like, what are these campaigns that we're going to run that are going to build authority? And the authority we're looking for at the end of the day is backlinks, engagement, positive reviews, mentions with positive sentiment, all of that online to improve your rankings and to improve the rankings of the keyword focused content that you're creating. So the reason why we end up on this like purpose-driven SEO approach is because that's really the shortcut to thinking about how can I generate some content that resonates with somebody and Google will see it.
How do we connect with, say, like-minded organizations and influencers without necessarily paying a rate card, in air quotes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really starts with authenticity. So you really have to figure out, what does your brand stand for? What's something that would resonate with a community that you want to go after that is in perfect alignment with your brand. So you wouldn't want to, write a lot of content about saving the whales if that's not something your brand cares about or is aligned with, because it's just not going to work because it's not authentic. So when we start working with a brand, we go through what we call like an authority discovery session. But what that really is a bunch of questions where we're trying to understand, what have you done in the past? What is your brand about? And what can we leverage for SEO, for authority building for SEO? And a lot of times that's a purpose, and the purpose might be a social mission, but for us, most of the time it's not. Like a lot of times it's the purpose is behind like the quality of the products, or it might be a story-driven SEO approach, or what we call a story-driven SEO approach, where you might have founders who have a backstory, and we can tell that backstory and use that to resonate with the community.
So help define what story-driven SEO is versus purpose-driven SEO, now that you mentioned that.
They're definitely related, but for the story-driven approach, that's really a bunch of strategies that we put together that are using, like, for example, we have a client, Fire Department Coffee, that we work with, and the founder is a veteran and a firefighter. So the stories we're able to tell around the founding of the company and why the company exists all revolve around these communities, around first responder communities, and also military and veteran communities. So we're able to tell a story about the brand that resonates in those areas. That just makes for some great content. And like I said before, that content generates links, engagement, all the stuff that Google's looking for to raise the authority of the website. But that's just one example of like a story-driven approach. Like, what is the story about the brand or the founders or the products that we can use to resonate for SEO?
What channels did Fire Department Coffee use to build their brand story?
So they did a lot with SEO. So that's creating content, getting it to rank, and then also link building content. But they also were huge on social media, where they had some funny videos and some other social media posts. And then they also did a bunch in terms of connecting with influencers in the space. So firefighters, there were a couple firefighters that had a big audience, and that was just perfect for them to get into that community. And then same thing with a couple of veterans influencers.
So you mentioned citable content. What's the best way for a brand to go about creating citable content for link building?
Yeah, this is something I talk about because it's another one of those shortcuts. So, back in the day, so I've done a lot of link building for a long time, but one of the many strategies that used to work is creating the best content on a subject. Like, it might be a guide on 3D printing. Like, if you're new to 3D printing, this is the guide. Nothing's going to look better or be more comprehensive than this guide. And then you do a lot of email outreach to get links. So nowadays, when you do that, you send those emails. The vast majority of people don't respond, as always, but even the ones that do respond are going to ask for money because they realized how valuable those links are. The way that we've gotten around it is, well, one of the ways is what I call citable content, which is you're looking for a cause that you can be opinionated on. An example is immigration issues. We have a client in the financial space we work with where we put together a campaign where we're interviewing immigrants in the US, and we're telling stories like the good and the bad in terms of their experience immigrating and living in the US. And what we're able to do is to reach out to advocacy groups. So these are groups that work on public policy or law firms. We had a bunch of law firms that we worked with. And the reason why we call it citable content is because these advocacy groups will point to or basically link to the interviews that we're creating because they're using them for their own advocacy. So they're not turning around to us and saying, oh, well, we'll link to it if you pay us, because their incentives are totally different. Like they're looking for content that kind of proves their point, so to speak. So if your brand is aligned with that type with that issue in particular, then that's a good strategy. But obviously that particular strategy isn't going to be right for most brands. But the key is to really figure out what issues are aligned with your brand that you can authentically talk about. Interviews are just an easy type of content to create, because you can talk to somebody, write an interview, and then do a bunch of promotion, as long as it's the citable content that you and I are talking about.
So does purpose-driven SEO work more for B2C, B2B? Where do you see it executing the best, or is it all over the board?
We've had good results with both. I'll just give you another example. There's a manufacturing company that we're working with, and they make these straps that bind wires together. So if you're an electrician, you need to bind those wires together so that everything's neat and pretty. And when they came to us, like the company's run by 2 engineers, and these guys are just like, they're manufacturers. They just care about the quality of their product and getting things done like efficiently. When we talked to them about their company, we realized that one of the founders is he volunteers at a trade school in town. And what we were able to do is put together an authority building campaign that we called Recruiting the Next Generation of Electricians. Because what he was excited about is that there are a bunch of jobs in the trades that young people don't know about. And these are good jobs that young people would be happy with if they knew how to get them and that they existed in the first place. So now when it comes to link building and building authority for his website, we're able to reach out to anybody that cares about career opportunities for young people or the trades. Like one area is like trade unions that would link to something like this. So we're able to get those links to the website, to a boring manufacturing company's website that normally be nearly impossible to get links to, and generate also some keyword targeted content for the keywords around these Velcro straps that we want to rank for, and really launch their SEO campaign.
So from a technical perspective, then, what are you seeing today that makes Google the happiest? This continues to evolve, and I want to make certain that we do cover some of that and make certain that we avoid things that Google doesn't want us to do, and that continues to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like 2 categories of things. Like one is the basics. Google can see your content. Like there are websites out there that have, they're broken in the sense that Google can't crawl, can't see the content on their site. That's rare, but that's like the first thing. Make sure that Google can actually see your content.
Go into that further though. Explain what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is people come to me because when I speak at conferences, I talk a lot about the end of technical SEO. Like that's not what you should be focused on if you want to double, triple your organic traffic. And then people come to me and they say, well, Dale, you're wrong. And the reason why you're wrong is because I worked on this website, carsforyouyouandyourmom.com, where like their website was broken. Like Google couldn't see their pages, and I fixed that. And now all of a sudden they're indexing, they're getting some traffic. So what do you mean technical SEO is dead? So yes, you need to be careful. It is rare, but if Google can't fetch your pages because your website is not accessible, then yeah, you're out of luck, and you need to hire a developer to fix that before you can do the type of SEO that I'm talking about. But that's why I always mention that, because it is true that there are a few websites out there that are just fundamentally broken and they need technical SEO help. So once you've fixed that problem and probably fired your current developer, because that should never happen, then we should talk about, do you want to continue down the path of focusing on technical issues that'll get you like a 10-20% bump, or do you want to double, triple your traffic, where you really need to be building out content that resonates, content that's keyword targeted, and generating authority through links and engagement and positive sentiment and all that good stuff. So the other part that I wanted to talk about is that the things that Google loves are really the signals that signal to Google that your brand is getting traction with an audience, or your audience that you're selling to, but it really could be, some other audience. But if you think about it, like if I were to launch a new brand or launch a new website, and I'm getting, we're getting links, we're getting traffic, that traffic is engaging with the website, staying there, we're getting mentions, we're getting reviews in Google, and other places. Like, that's the sort of thing that Google's looking to pick up on, that your brand is getting traction. So that's the way that I would think about it, because that's really what, if you think about it, like, there's so much competition for rankings that, Google needs to really understand, what brands are established, because that's what people expect to see in the rankings, and what brands are building momentum, because these are the challenger brands that Google wants to surface, because Google has reason to believe that you're going to like what you see, because Google has proof that these brands are building momentum and really resonating with an internet community.
What will SEO, in your opinion, look like in the near to midterm, say from short term to 5 years out?
What it's going to look like is that web developers will finally understand SEO. But what it'll be is they'll understand like what's left of the technical piece, which is, get you on the right CMS, make sure it's tuned for speed, make sure Google can see all the pages. The sitemap is the right thing. Like, so you really are going to get that from your web developer. Right now, web developers don't exactly understand it, but as they get smarter and CMS is get better, you're going to just get that for free when your site is built, or, you build it on a CMS. And then the other thing that will happen in the future is that, like, the SEO profession, people who consider themselves SEO specialists, they're not going to be web developers anymore. They're really going to be coming from PR or content, because that's where the creativity can really be leveraged to increase your SEO results.
So how comfortable are you with the no-code websites out there today? The Squarespaces of the world, and a lot of things we do on WordPress, which are pretty much plug and play as well. From an SEO standpoint, do any of them give you great pause, or you feel comfortable with them?
So the thing is, like, you have to think about it from Google's perspective. If I'm Seth Godin and I start a Squarespace site, and I have an audience that loves what I do, and I'm a smart guy, people love to read my insights. Does Google really care what type of website it's built on? Google wants to surface that content because it's great, useful content, and that's it. So then you have to start thinking about, well, what are the signals that Google's using to see that, like, well, this is the next Seth Godin. Maybe it's not Seth Godin. This is the next Seth Godin versus, this is Dale's mom writing about her plants and nobody cares. So, Google's able to see signals from like how the audience is interacting with the site and how the internet is responding to the content. So the reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, I get frustrated when I look at Squarespace sites, because I have a technical background and I was like, man, I would have done that differently. And I wish it was easier to do the types of things that I want to do on a Squarespace site. But at the end of the day, as Google's getting better and better, they're trying to build a search engine that can look past that, because that's not what I care about when I'm searching for how to prune my rose bush. When I'm searching for how to prune my rose bush, I want the best information on how to prune my rose bush. I don't care if it's built on a technical platform that's deficient. So that it just makes no sense that, like, Google's not headed in that direction. So there's a bare minimum of technical competence that, like, a CMS and a web development, web framework like like Squarespace needs to have in order for Google to be able to efficiently fetch all the pages, see all the content, and evaluate it for rankings. But beyond that, like, why would Google care? Because searchers don't care what platform it's on.
Well, so Dale, as we get to know you a little bit better, I ask this question of everybody that's on a Shark's Perspective, which has the most optimized, perfect website on the planet, of course. Don't laugh. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Well, I guess sand shark. I think they're called sand sharks. But the reason why I would say why is because the only one I've ever actually caught. But whatever those little ones are that you can easily catch on the beach and they kind of get in the way, because I was hoping to get something more tasty.
Yeah, definitely throw them back in. Well, Dale, it's a special time of the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Number 1, we spoke about Fire Department coffee, good brand. So the question is dark roast or medium roast?
Definitely the dark roast, because I'm not a coffee drinker.
Ooh.
But when I do, like, that's what I would go for.
Yeah. All right. Number 2, Google goes away one day. Which is your preferred search engine? That we forget about, Microsoft, Bing, or Yahoo?
Okay, so we're eliminating Microsoft.
Let's say that Google goes away one day, disappears, wins the lottery, moves to Tahiti. You're left with which one of these 2 is your favorite? Microsoft, Bing, or Yahoo from a search engine standpoint?
Just for sentimental reasons, definitely Yahoo, because I think I've used Yahoo since day one of Yahoo.
That's a good Seth Godin reference.
I've spent a lot of time on Yahoo.
Yeah. All right. So you're a Bostonian, and we're going to talk about famous Bostonian actors and ambassadors for the city. Matt Damon or Ben Affleck?
I can't tell the difference, so I would say Matt Damon, because you said his name first.
Yeah.
I'm not a movie until my wife can tell the difference, so I'll ask her and get back to you.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Number 4. This is a very Fire and Spark kind of question, because it's 12 degrees in the winter in Boston all the time. Real wood or gas logs?
Definitely real wood. The gas logs just don't smell like real wood.
Thank you. All right. Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
100% cornbread, because I make the world's best cornbread.
Very good. Very seldom does anybody say that they make this when I ask that question. So fantastic answer. All right. So Dale, where can people find out more about you, about Fire and Spark, your SEO knowledge, your thoughts in the industry, and more?
Yeah, check out fireandspark.com. So we have a newsletter that goes out that has insights in it. And then we also have our blog, and we publish there. And if anybody's interested in reaching out to me directly, I mean, I'm Dale at fireandspark.com. So absolutely, I'm always happy to talk SEO. I would do this for fun if I wasn't paid. So feel free to send me any questions.
Fantastic. Dale, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. It was a fun conversation, Kenneth.
So there was my conversation with Dale Bertrand, the founder and president of Fire and Spark, and an SEO specialist to Fortune 500 companies and venture-backed startups around the world. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from a conversation with him. First, technical SEO isn't completely dead, but not the focus it used to be either. Moving the focus to how your audience resonates with your content makes purpose clearer to both those readers and to Google. Second, love the point on citable content for link building. He referenced building authority with advocacy groups. If your brand has a cause or purpose, for example, a lot of the advocacy groups like public policy organizations will often provide links that align with their purpose as well. Oftentimes that can be easier. Reminds me a little of Higher Ed as well as authority link content in those stories. But great point. Third, I continue as well to be a big fan of no-code sites and seeing how they continue to evolve. As Dale said, he sees things that he would develop differently. I do too. As someone who's coded a lot and I made a lot of sites, I completely agree. Most users don't care though. If it's crawlable and recognizable by search engines and helps the consumer, well, for the most part, you should be good. And that's easier said than done though. Well worth having a great developer, so there isn't a problem to start. It's also interesting though, how people who think content as opposed to just software development can start thinking more about link building in a more thoughtful way as well. He thinks of the future looking more where developers understand more clearly SEO, and marketers, for example, to be a little more creative to drive rankings. We'll see, but it makes sense. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time, and I'm thankful to everyone who listens. Thank you to the amazing sponsors Invoke Interrupts. Please consider writing a review and letting me know your thoughts on the show. Now's the time to light a spark under you and do better marketing. From Senor Tiburon, hasta luego, and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.